Melody by Arthur Carnell. He was a local Penge composer, Victorian, and he was organist at St John's, Penge, from, I think, 1872 to 1903.
The church was built in 1908, but this building wasn't built until 1912. The architect was P. Morley Horder, and he designed the interior as well as the exterior. And there are many, many details that echo each other all around the church. The ends of the pews and the shape of the windows and that sort of thing. Originally, the organ was in an alcove up here, which is now the front of the loft where the organ pipes are. And it was a tiny, I think it's called positive organ, and we still have it down in the chapel. This organ was built in 1915 by Lewis and Company of Brixton, and it was a good organ for a long time. But in 1984, it was in need of repair. And at that time, the advice to the minister was to get rid of it and buy an electric organ. But the minister took further advice, and Brian Bunting was recommended to do the rebuild. Robert Cooper, whom you've seen playing, was the organist at the time and was very much involved. Robert came to be the organist here in 1981, and in 1984 he was very much involved in the rebuild of the organ. The rededication recital was played by Robert in May 1985 to coincide with the 77th anniversary of the church. Anniversaries have played a very large role in the life of this organ. For the 50th anniversary of the church, there was held a whole week of recitals. This is a picture of the church in 1945, an article which was printed in the Organ, volume 24, in January 1945. And it's a bit snippy about a beautiful instrument. Anyway, maybe it was getting a bit tired by that time and needed some, but the man who wrote it, Vernon C. Coombs, says that by judicious use of stops, can find quite a good sound. In 2008, it was suggested to mark the anniversary, the 100th anniversary of the founding of the church, that we should make a CD of organ music. At this time, I was the organist, but I am still in the position of being a pupil organist. And so I invited the teachers that I have had, Robert first, and then Martin Ball and John Webber. We produced the CD with the help of Chris Traves, who recorded us, and Christopher Town, who produced the multiple copies of the CD. And then in 2009, we decided that we would have a launch of the CD. And so we had a recital given by Robert and Martin and me. John Webber, whose work was on the CD, was unable to be there. The next year, in 2010, my children and I thought, we've done a nice recital. Why don't we do a recital to celebrate the life of my husband, their father? Because it would have been his 70th birthday in November that year. And so we held another recital, and everybody said, why don't you do it again next year? Last November, we had the 8th recital in memory of my husband. Meantime, I met Chris O'Shaughnessy as we were organizing an art trail for the Penge Festival. And Chris said something about organs. And the people who were there said, well, talk to this lady. She's the organist at Penge Congregational Church. And so we came to be involved once again with the Penge Festival. We've now had 3 Penge Festival recitals, and we're expecting to have another one this coming June. Also, in the meantime, the Southwark and South London Society of Organists were invited to come, and they have now come to have their annual recital in this church 6 times. Last year we had 19 players, 3 of them young people who are just learning the organ. And our president, Dr. Harry Brahma, played in that recital as well. This year we had fewer organists, but Dr. Brahma said the standard was very high.